By any objective standard, the people of Somaliland have endured and persevered through some of the harshest circumstances the modern world can throw at a society: prolonged droughts, food insecurity, lack of international recognition, and persistent political exclusion from global systems of support. Yet they have done so with dignity, resolve, and a commitment to building a functioning, peaceful, democratic state. It is precisely this legacy of resilience that makes the recent appearance of Somaliland's Minister of Environment and Climate Change in an ITV interview both frustrating and deeply out of step with the national spirit. Back in 2017, the Horn of Africa was in the grip of a deadly drought. Over 6 million people were facing famine, and many, including women like Asha, who lost 2 baby daughters, were left with nothing. It was a heartbreaking chapter. But what's often omitted in such stories is that Somaliland, unlike many others, did not crumble. It organized. It relied on local institutions, tribal elders, diaspora remittances, and sheer determination. The people didn't wait for outside saviors. They saved themselves. Fast forward to today, and Somaliland has accomplished what many deemed impossible: a democratic transition of power, domestic stability, and self-made progress. So why then should our appointed ministers go abroad to ask for aid, especially without articulating a clear, dignified, or visionary strategy that reflects the sacrifices and grit of our people? The interview with Minister Abdullahi Osman was an exercise in missed opportunity. Here was a rare international platform in London, no less, in front of Western policymakers and audiences, and instead of boldly making the case for Somaliland's role as a climate frontliner, instead of clearly explaining the nation's strategic importance, our minister mumbled through vague requests for adaptation and international funds. He stumbled through explanations of climate phenomena like El Niño and failed to convincingly argue for investment or partnerships. Where is the articulation of Somaliland's vision? Where is the clarity on what makes us different and stronger than neighboring failed states? Where was the confident argument for direct climate investment into renewable energy like solar and wind, of which Somaliland has abundant potential? Why was our minister begging for foreign funding like a supplicant when Somaliland has always stood tall, relying on internal strength and smart cooperation rather than handouts? Let us be clear. The people of Somaliland are not beggars. We are not victims. We are not defined by drought, nor should we be represented by ministers who reduce us to pity. Our legacy is of self-reliance. From our self-funded elections to our citizen-built roads, we have shown the world what grassroots power looks like. If officials cannot speak clearly, boldly, and proudly on behalf of Somaliland, they should step aside. This is not a time for weak, meandering diplomacy. This is a time for strategic clarity and for advocating Somaliland's rightful place on the international stage, not as a charity case, but as a partner, a frontline climate innovator, and a model of stability in a volatile region. Somaliland doesn't need ministers who beg for aid that citizens never requested. We need leaders who reflect the dignity, ambition, and resilience of the people they claim to serve. If we must ask the world for anything, it is bilateral trade investment partnership and the recognition of our achievements, not spare change.